Hello, and welcome to Cannabis Marketing Live, all puff, no fluff. I am your host, Kendra Losi, and I am really excited about today's guest. I know that I say that a lot because I really like the people I interview, but today's guest, Parchelle Tashi, really impressed me. I saw her pitch at a conference we were recently at the New Media Summit, and she was awesome. Her story is great, and her work is amazing when it comes to video production. I will admit to stalking her website and looking at her videos and YouTube and such. So if you're watching, we are here talking about how to profit from video in the cannabis industry. So if you're watching, throw down some comments and questions, tell us where you're at, and we will do our best to answer those throughout. Welcome, Parchelle.
Hey, Kendra, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. To kick us off, can you talk a little bit about your story and how you got into video production? And then I will ask a follow-up question about cannabis industry, but let's start with your experience with video production.
Awesome. So my name is Parchelle. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia, the area there. And I actually started my career in teaching. So I was a school teacher for about 7 years. But prior to that, growing up in middle school, around that time is when I started spending time on the computer because I wanted to make these flyers that they gave us to hand out in church. I wanted to make those look better because I thought they sucked. So I got on the computer, and that's kind of what, sparked, me getting into the area of just things that are visual and fun. And so anyway, I taught school, right, in my professional adult life, and I ended up quitting that to pursue doing video full time. And so from there, I was a one-woman show, and then bit by bit, I just started to learn more about the industry, had a lot of setbacks, a lot of disappointments, of course, which we know propel us forward. And so that enabled me to, do what we did with video. We worked with a lot of really interesting brands and, names that we know like SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, to the School of Wharton we did work with, and all those between, up and down the East Coast and in other cities. So it's been an amazing experience, and we had offices in Virginia, where I started, and also in Philadelphia.
Nice.
So that's my world in video production.
That's amazing. You don't hear a lot of former teachers going into video production. I have a lot of teachers in my family, and God love them, very important people, but they're not the most tech savvy. As a general rule, completely stereotyping, not very tech savvy. So that's amazing. And when we were originally talking, we had talked about some of the work you've done in cannabis. Can you talk a little bit about your experience there as well?
Yeah, so moving out to California, I was intrigued by this thing that, was going on here that wasn't going on in any other states, especially the one that I was from. And so once I got in, I started connecting with some friends who were investing and getting involved in the industry. And I thought, man, this is a really good opportunity to see what's really going on and see if there's any opportunity to bring my skill sets and what I know how to do to the industry. And so I did help out with a couple of events. Live events was definitely popular for sure in the cannabis space, just because we're just limited in what we can do online, right? So I did work with a number of events and just got connected with some amazing brands. Spent time at Hall of Flowers. I went up to Santa Monica there. Oh, no, it was a Santa...
I can't remember right now.
I'm still getting used to California. Anyway, that was an amazing trip to be there at that event and connect with some of the professionals there. So that's been my experience. I've just done a lot of networking and helped out with some events and a couple of brands.
That's fantastic. Now, and as you mentioned, live events, and that's what we talked about last week, live events are just so important to this industry, and not only just from an option to promote your brand and your business, but also for that community, because the community is so strong in this space. And, it's some of my favorite people, so it's nice to be able to have a chance to see them. We talked, their video is so important. And I know that when I talk to people, I probably start to drive them crazy because I'm like, oh, we could do video and we could do this on video and we could do that on video. So I'm so glad you're here with your experience. One of the things that you said that was really intriguing is I wanted to dive into the very topic we're here to talk about today is how to profit from video in the cannabis industry. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah. So of course, when we're talking about to be able to profit from something means that the investment that you're putting in, right, you're getting
Mm-hmm.
something out.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we consider the importance of education in this space right now, you cannot go wrong by educating any of your clients, right? And the fact that they got the information from you now builds a sense of loyalty, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now we're talking about brand loyalty. Well, I learned this from, you know, from this group. You know what I mean? Now you have a
Mm-hmm.
bond with them. So I see that as being hugely profitable for, for this industry, especially when you consider the lifetime value of a customer.
Absolutely. And I think that to your point, there's a lot of different ways that you can actually profit, right? One is awareness and reputation, all the way through to driving sales. And I think that they all build and combine. Can you talk a little bit about the attributes that make video unique and so important right now?
Yeah, so if we know that you can use 1,000 words to describe a picture, a video in motion just does so much more because now we connect to emotion, right? So one of the biggest attributes of video is its ability to connect us on an emotional level, and as brands understand and do that from a more empathetic place, the more they'll find that they're building this brand, what I call loyalty and uh, just connectedness with their community.
So, one of the things that I get asked a lot is what kind of videos should people create? How do you work with clients or how do you recommend people start to think about video in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. It all depends on their goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every company is in a different place. And so, depending on where you are, and what I usually do is kind of look at the customer funnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the people that don't know who you are, the people who know who you are, the people who like you, and the people who trust you.
Yep.
And so, depending on where you need more awareness, right? Where you need the most love right now,
Yeah.
what's lacking, that's where we start. And, from there, that gives us a little bit more clarity as to what we can do. There's so many companies who will put out an about us video or something that's maybe top of mind or at a certain place of that funnel
Uh huh.
when it doesn't make sense for their objective. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's really important just to understand what is it that we're trying to achieve, and then looking at the plethora of videos that you can actually do to achieve it.
Absolutely. Now, I think that one of the things that always, I think it's really important that when you get to a certain point to have a brand video and an about us video, but you're right, it's not necessarily the first one you should always create. When you start to look at the customer journey and where people are coming from and what they're needing, is there a trend that you've seen in video lately that's really stood out to you, other than everyone needs more?
Well, I would definitely say that the one that needs, I would say more doing, and what I'm seeing working is episodic content,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's building this relationship over time. I'm actually playing around with that concept right now to an extent with some content that I've released over time, and people are like asking for the next episode. When I could have just uploaded one video, right, and left it like that. I think they're really creating something and building that consistency with your content and something that's episodic is really important. So that's one video type I would definitely say should be considered, especially in the cannabis space.
Absolutely. And another point to that is that Facebook is trying to encourage that. So if you're posting every week and driving people back, the more people that return to watch your videos, the higher placement Facebook will give your videos in terms of distributing
Right.
it to your network. So, okay, I love here that you're doing what you preach. So you're actually putting out the episodic videos for your own business and for your own personal brand. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that project?
Sure. It's not related to cannabis,
That's fine. That's fine. Because
okay.
I think it's important. But I get the other reason why I want you to talk about it a little bit, if you don't mind, is because I think that there's a lot of ideas that can occur when you're hearing about things people are doing. Because it
Right.
doesn't have to be in
So
the right industry, in the same industry.
exactly. It's about creating that connection with people, and so I put out a series called "When I Left the Church." All right. And the reason I did this is a big part of my story.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I've been encouraging other people to get on video and share your story, share who you are, right? Talk about be more open, be a little more transparent. And so when I kind of looked over my own content that I've been putting out, I hadn't really done that fully myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to do this, and the format that I ended up deciding to do is to do it episodic, And so I have it's about a hour and a half, 2 hour conversation that my friend sat down and had with me,
Uh-huh.
just to ask me the questions that I
Awesome.
needed to get my story out, and then we essentially just have split it up into different sections, and I've been releasing it every day starting on Easter. I started it then. I released 2 episodes, and then every day at 6 p.m. Pacific, I've been releasing the next one. And then this all been on YouTube, and the response has been just overwhelming and incredible in terms of people like, when's the next one? I'm waiting for the next one to come out. It's like, whoa, this is interesting. But doing something in that frame of a format is really powerful.
I love it. And so if you guys want to watch and see, get an idea of what that looks like or what type of content, it's just another type of content, right? And how you can take your story and break it into pieces and make it compelling so people do want to watch, because you want to create that demand. We're not doing this for as much as I love interviewing people, I'm not doing it. Just, I could do that on the phone. I don't need to do it on video.
Exactly.
But the idea is to find insights and different things that people can use and take it from other industries and apply it to what we're doing. And on that realm, have you seen other examples that really have stood out to you when you look at other companies using video or other businesses using video?
I've seen like Nike, for example. I know that they've been putting out really good content, and that's all geared to their audience and what their audience wants and what's going to be helpful for them. And so I've definitely seen a lot of positive things on that scale. And then other companies too, like Wistia. I really enjoy the content they put out, and they're a video hosting platform.
Yeah.
But just the way that they even teach what they're doing, right?
That's awesome.
It's really neat.
That's awesome. Now, as you've learned all of this, one of the other things that we talked about is just the importance of education. And clearly, as a teacher, that's going to be high on your list. I worked at a university for 8 years and still teach at a university as an adjunct. So it's very, very important to me. So how do you see education fitting in and the importance of it in terms of what you've done and what you see other people doing?
Yeah, it's really important when you're able to be the one to inform others. I mean, I hate to bring this up, but if we look at the pandemic and what's happened and how the media has been involved with that and who's been at the forefront of providing information, being the provider of the information is going to encourage behavior that you as creator of that information want.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the relationship that's happening there, right? So if you can be the one in your industry, right, to a particular niche, a particular group of people that you know so well, it works even better if you know yourself, because you might see certain attributes of yourself in your brand or in your audience, right, that you're going after. And so you build that connection and you provide them the information from a point of view that they can understand, right, a point of view that they can relate to.
Absolutely.
Become the one that can, I mean, I don't want to say you're influencing their behavior, but that's what marketing is about. We're putting a message out, wanting people to really connect with what they're experiencing, where their pains are, and the fact that you understand them.
Absolutely.
And you're going to help them get out of it, you know what I mean, or whatever they're experiencing.
You mentioned something earlier, and I want to go back to that a little bit. How can a brand demonstrate empathy over on video or use video to demonstrate empathy?
Get transparent, or get other people to be transparent.
And how transparent where are the lines? How do you recommend companies kind of figure out that level of transparency? Because it's something that I know a lot of bigger corporations worry about and get stressed about. But as we look at cannabis businesses and, smaller entrepreneurs, how do you recommend that they, get transparent? What does that mean to you?
I think to me, it depends. I would say your story, right? What is it?
It's a tough...
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but I just kind of fall back in default to what is your version of your story?
Mm-hmm.
How can you present your story, right? Like the things that we see happen in movies, right, that we love and adore, there's a lot of crap that goes down in those. It's very transparent, that opens up topics of, real pain and topics of like, all kinds of things. And so that's really what it's about. How do you tell this story? And it's not going to shock anybody. I think there's nothing you could say that would shock anybody. I think at this point we've seen it all. So the fact that someone would get transparent and choose to tell that story from a place of power, that's what connects with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so funny because I've talked about this in a lot of the writing classes that I've taken, or even helping clients, right? Like if you don't have that conflict and you don't have some of those struggles, it's not interesting. So, if Romeo and Juliet, there was no fight with their family, great. It's just two teenagers in love. Big deal. Yeah. Right? Okay, we're done. Great story.
Yeah. We can't dismiss those. They go together.
Yeah.
They go together. And I think when we do open up and recognize that, we can express that empathy, right, and connect with others.
Absolutely. And I think that's even more important for smaller companies that are trying to stand out. So whether it's an individual solopreneur trying to build the CBD brand, or a bigger cannabis company, if you're growing or what have you, it is important to create that struggle and to share that struggle when, maybe not all the details, but some of it at least gets to be really important.
And even if you don't necessarily want to reveal that from you, as the company sharing things about you, or you the business owner, find a way to connect with that feeling with other people and allow them to become part of your content.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, if you're a company who deals with mothers who are under a lot of pressure and stress and what have you, make the topic of your content about that, in some way that, really can speak to that pain, but, coming with a solution as well. You've created the opportunity to become transparent with someone else.
Absolutely.
And then now you're creating conversation is huge.
Absolutely. And it's something that we did at the university that I was able to do is that user-generated content as well. So it doesn't always have to be your own. It can be getting content from your customers, from your partners, from everyone in your network that makes sense, that can help you build your video content. Video is incredibly important. Do you know offhand, I forget off the top of my head, what the percentage of people who are watching video instead of reading are online?
It's really high. I think it's like 60 or 70%.
That's what I prefer video. Yeah, mm-hmm. I think so as well. And on top of that, even the fact that when they can watch video, but they want the closed captions, it's something like 85%. Maybe it's less now with all of us at home, but 85% want the closed caption because they'll watch the video, but they'll read the script. Exactly. But it's incredibly important. And not just that, I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a minute because all the social media platforms are promoting video. Google owns YouTube. Google promotes video. All of these things are important. One question that I want to ask you as a owner of a video production company, when do you recommend that someone hires somebody to help versus trying to do it themselves?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the goals that you're wanting to achieve, right? Is one factor that comes into play. And then the other factor is, your skill level. Mm-hmm. And what you might know already how to do, or the people around you know how to do. So I think it's important to kind of do an audit, evaluate what you have access to now, what can you do, and to start from there. You should start to hire a video person when you're looking at each other like, I don't know. That's when it makes sense to say, well, we should probably get someone in here, or you're considering, how things can be a little bit more effective and on a better flow, you know what I mean? And that this is now taking too much time away from this person, right? Who's going to do it? I don't know, right? When everybody's sitting around looking around and asking that of each other, that's when you should probably look into saying, yeah, we need to get some help with this.
And yeah, I love that. I don't know. Look, I've certainly been in meetings with that come up. The other thing I think too is to keep in mind, if you're spending all your time doing video editing, for example, or trying to figure out the lights or the audio, you're wasting your time when, someone else who's a professional can do that twice as fast. And, it might cost something, but the opportunity cost of what of what you're using is
Yeah.
by far.
That's just a smart efficiency move right there. I mean, if you're the owner, if you're the person who, directly is responsible for the growth of your company, you can't afford to be using that time, which is worth probably $1,000 an hour, right, at what you could be doing
Absolutely.
versus the video editing, which is, clearly much less.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things you've mentioned, it all starts with your goals a couple times, and I absolutely agree with that. One of the things that we wanted to talk about is how to narrow your niche, because I personally have talked to many CBD entrepreneurs and cannabis entrepreneurs who are really, really so excited about their product that it's for everybody. Everybody can use this. Everybody can benefit. It drives me nuts for many reasons, but tell me a little bit about what you recommend to someone as they're starting out and when they're looking at that, because how you create your video is going to be impacted by this.
Absolutely. When it comes to, I think of the analogy of a generalist and a specialist, right? If I have a heart condition and I have the option of going to a general practice doctor or a heart specialist surgeon, you know what I mean? Who am I going to go to? Who am I going to be more likely to want to call on? And so that's what comes to mind when I think about having a niche and being really specific about what you offer and who you're here to serve. And to be the one that's like everybody, it's to really stand out is going to be difficult,
I feel
right?
like if you're trying, sorry, I feel like if you're trying to do
Okay.
that, you need like Disney or Nike budget or Coca-Cola
Yes.
budget.
Yeah. Because now you're stepping into a bigger pool for
Yeah,
sure. So, it's really important to really figure out who is my audience and, who is this type of person. And then when you get to that level, ask yourself why, right? And then go another level deeper. Right? I recommend going at least 2 or 3 levels deep in terms of like, moms, right? Or I'd say women.
yeah,
Women would be one category, then moms with teenagers, moms with teenagers who like fitness.
yep,
And as you go through this, through each of those levels, ask yourself why, and you actually begin to see that there's some value that you hold to that audience. That's
absolutely.
what makes it easier to make more empathetic and more compelling, more influential video content or content period in your marketing when you know them at that level because you know yourself.
Absolutely. And not only that, there's also, and I love this because it's such an important process to go through to create videos and have them be effective. But these videos are not just a one-time sit on your website or go on social media. There's so much more science around where videos are placed on your website. For example, videos on landing pages are blowing up and making conversions a lot more. And it goes back to what Parchelle was talking about in terms of the trust and building that trust and transparency. Because if you're talking about what you're going to do with the data, if you're talking about what's on your website or what services you're going to provide, they want to hear it from you, not words that probably honestly someone else wrote.
Exactly. They're going to want it from, from you. Absolutely.
Where do you recommend? So, if someone has a website, let's start there. If someone has a website and they have a cannabis business, meaning, let's say, an ancillary service, right? Whether it's an accounting, lawyer, public relations person, that's for Heidi who is watching. What videos do you recommend that they would have on their website if they are targeting cannabis professionals? So it's
And are
fair.
they like on her website?
Yeah. So if you have a website, just to start out, right? Like what are the basic videos? Because your goal is to build trust,
Mm-hmm.
and you're targeting other cannabis professionals.
I would say to actually look and make sure that your website is more of a landing page, first of all. When someone is coming to look for information, they need help, you want to just get them that very next step. If they have too many options, then they're likely to click away and not take the desired action that you want for them on that page. So that's the thing I would look at. And then, of course, having some video there that addresses a pain, right? Hooks them in some way, addresses a pain, solves their problem, and gives them the call to action right then and there. And so that's the type of video that I would say some sort of I guess what I would call um, like a general overview, so to speak, or
Mm-hmm.
a specific landing page video that is about getting a specific call to action on that page. And then just have your steps in place from there, because it sounds like if you're a consultant of some sort,
Yeah.
then you want to bring people through a process.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important. And I think that if you are a product, if you're selling products, so if you're highlighting your cannabis brand or CBD product, that's even more important because people need to know who you are and what you represent. And, from a CBD perspective, they need to know that they trust what you're putting in the product that they're going to be putting in their bodies.
Yeah, and I would say more specific too, as well with products, as well as like what you had mentioned, the other consultant or accounting auxiliary testimonials are also very important. What I call case studies.
Yeah.
So any way you incorporate those as well into those web pages is going to be really, really important, especially if you can formulate them in a way that shows the result. Not just somebody saying that, oh, Susie is a great person and I enjoy working with her. No, like speak to the results, specific measures of what you're able to help them accomplish. And then on the product side, before and afters. I mean, that's the best, option you have there. Some sort of a before and after story that just brings to life, what this product has helped, right?
Yeah.
If that target in that message is the people that are in that audience, it's going to connect, it's going to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all of this helps you, right? Like going back to the main topic, how to profit on video, you're building your trust. As Parchelle's been saying, you're not just building your trust, but you're generating that awareness, you're building that trust, and you're easing that conversion in that purchase because it's all about trust and, get them to know, like, and trust you. It's going to go a really long way. So if someone is looking to get started, we've already said step 1, what are your goals?
Mm-hmm.
Step 2, what did you say step 2 was?
Step 2 is to do an audit.
Mm-hmm.
Do an audit of what your capabilities are.
Okay. So an internal.
Yeah, like an internal review. Yep.
Perfect. And step 3.
Man, I don't even know what I said.
trying to do a summary here. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. So if you know your goals, you know your target audience, you do your internal review to understand, or you do your internal review, you know your target audience. Parchelle as she was talking about, you dive down and explain why each time. So that way you can talk about the benefit. And then with that internal review, you're going to decide if you're going to do it internally or externally. And also, what are the purpose of the videos? So that goes back to your goals. So yeah. And then if you're going to do it yourself, you've got to have the tools and figure out what you're going to do and say and how you're going to do it. But all of this is going to help. And I love the idea of the episodic content, as well as the landing page videos, and then the powerful other types of videos that we've talked about. Yeah. As we look to wrap up, do you have any other tips or recommendations for people who might be getting started in using video?
I want for everybody to also understand, too, that when it comes to video, this is probably, when we think about your marketing efforts and what you're putting in play right now, video has one of the highest returns. It just does. And the reason I say that is because let's say that you invest 10 grand into a video campaign, right? Maybe this covers several videos of the campaign. And within 6 months to a year, you've made that money back plus some. Now you've made your money back on this video. And if it was working for you then, it's going to continue to work for you. So now you're talking about an infinite return on an effort that you made at one point. And if you can get on that, in a process of making that effort that you put in consistent, to where every month you are sharing some extent of content that's bridging the gap between you and your audience and strengthening that relationship. Yep. Like you're making huge steps forward as opposed to baby steps of other forms of content. This just have leaps and bounds that you can really progress when you consider your marketing and the growth of your company. Absolutely.
There's on that point one thing that I was doing for a client, and to be clear, I'm not a video expert, but I have a client that I take my phone and my tripod and my light and my mic and I go and I film her, and then I get it edited and I put that into her newsletter, her blog, on YouTube, all of that with the search engine optimization. So that way, and to your point, it's lived there. You know, all of these things are relevant. They're still able to be reused, and we're able to resend them out because the content was evergreen, which means that it can just last for a long time and it's not time sensitive, right? If we're making videos about the quarantine and talking about COVID,
Sure.
you know, hopefully in a year they will be outdated.
Exactly. Hopefully it'll be outdated next week.
Exactly. I know. I was going to say hopefully by the summer, but I feel like I need to pad that a little bit.
I know.
But it's just, there's so many different things that can be done. And I want to give a huge thanks to Parchelle. As we're wrapping up, can you please let people know where they can reach you? I'm putting your lower third right now with your contact information, but if you can just shout out where they can reach you, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so my website is parcheltashi.com. And then also, if you guys want to connect, which I highly recommend, I would love to connect and see how I can help you. Answer any questions you have about video specific to your company and what you're trying to do in your business. Connect with Parchelle.com.
Love it. Let me get me back on the screen. I love it. Thank you so much for being here and for your time. I really appreciate it. And those of you watching, have a great rest of your day. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with more guests. All right. Thank you, Parchelle. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.